Hey everybody out there on YouTube and Facebook, this is Kris Nicholson, and as you seen yesterday, which I got in the package in the mail, was my floppy disk emulators. They're actually made by GoTech. You could get them at Amazon.com. They were only like around $38, which is really good, and they send them in the mail, really nice and packaged. But I installed it on my Roland VA76. I installed it on the Roland G1000. Which is on a shelf, and my EM2000, which is right over here. Now, as you can see, it has an LED and USB right over here, and it actually has the two. It has the two button indicator plus the light indicator, just like if you were going to use it as a regular floppy, which is really neat. All right, my opinion on these, and I read up some information on most of them. These emulators, they all work the same. Only thing that's different about them is that some have LCD screens and some have 2 numbers instead of 3 numbers. This particular one over here can load 1,000 floppies. Now, I don't know if you can see it on my computer, but that's the software right over here. And what I do is I click this mount tool right over here. Close that, sorry. I open this up. Ask me if I wanted to do it. Yes. It opens up a box right over here. And this is the software basically. Right over here you have the standard edition, enhanced edition, which you could have the amount of floppies that you want to make, and the USB format, which is just a regular basic format on here. Okay. The software is self-explanatory. There's different kinds of software on here. Now, if you look on my keyboard, this is the list. I only have 4 songs on here right now, but I did a little experiment. Number one that I love about the disk emulator is that it loads very fast. So if I want to rock around the clock, I press rock around the clock, press load, boom, it's right there. Press play, and it should be playing right now. And it's playing beautifully. That's how fast it is. My floppy, it took a little time to do that. So that was one humongous plus about this. So the drawback about it is that loading it from a computer onto your USB drive, it will actually recognize it as one floppy. So this is the breaking point right here. Since I do my own original stuff on here, it's alright for what I do for right now. But let me shut this off, and over here, I don't know if you can see the buttons, I'm going to press it to the floppy one right over here. And usually if you press it once, it'll basically won't do anything. If I press zip drive, go back into floppy, it still won't do anything. So what you have to do is it's going to go all the way to 9. When you go to 1, hold it down, and then press it. And then it'll show. Right now I got Mr. Sandman right over here. So I put that on a separate floppy just to test it out. I'm going to press load. There we go. Mr. Sandman, play. So that's good. That's really, really good. It's fast. But when you go to the next floppy, say from 0 to 1, you actually have to reformat the drive as a second floppy. Which the first floppy you're not going to lose, but you have to reformat it on the machine, not on the computer. So that's another thing that I learned. Okay. Let me turn this down just a little bit. We can still listen to it. Other keyboards. Now, as you can see, I got 2 floppies right here. This keyboard is basically a standard floppy disk drive, which is the IBM format. This keyboard right over here, I try to see if I could get another floppy for it. One thing about it is that it's the actual keyboard, the older version keyboard floppy drive, which uses a belt drive. So how did I know that? I opened up this keyboard to see if I can fit one of these in there, and it was a different system. It was a belt drive. For the Yamaha's Techniques, the older Techniques, Insonics, Alesis, they all use belt drives. So let me show you what they look like. This is a regular standard floppy that I took out of the VA76. And this over here is a belt drive floppy. Now the difference is the back and the bottom. The back of it uses basically a serial point, and you also have a power connector to the floppy right here. So if you have this on, you might have to open up your keyboard and check if you have this. If you have this on your keyboard, then you're good. You can just order a regular standard floppy disk emulator. If you have this on your keyboard, this is actually a ribbon for you know, it's just basically a one-sided ribbon, and you have a rotary, which is right over there. On the bottom of it is your belt drive, and this is the belt right over here. This is what goes out. I just recently switched this drive to work with this keyboard over here. So this is this was the actual drive for that keyboard, for the PSR SQ16, and the actual drive from that came from the Technics AC 1200. The bottom of this, it's just regular. So that's how you know the difference between a belt drive and a regular. Now, if you do replace the belt drive on any of these kind of keyboards, make sure they're not in any kind of heat source, or else the belt basically will just turn to dust. This one's still good, but it's still not recognizing it. You can use a rubber band. Some keyboards you can actually use a rubber band for it, depending on what size you get. And sometimes it'll work and sometimes it won't. This one, it works perfectly now. I took it out of here because I really didn't actually need the sequencer on this keyboard, on this module. I just needed just the rhythms, but I needed the sequencer on this one because I do a lot of projects on the PSR SQ16. All right, so that's another question. And if you have any other questions about it, PSR 8000 uses the regular IBM format. The PA series with disk drives, IBM format. The Roland E series up there, IBM format. The Technics right over here, you have to open up and see. I think this is IBM format, but it might be a belt drive because how old it is. It's hard for me to get up there. But the Casio MZ2000, IBM format. Any Casio WK keyboards are IBM format. Let me go around the room. Let me see. Okay, the PSR 6700, that's a belt drive. The Korg T3, I know my room's a mess. The Korg T2, that's an IBM format. Yamaha SY keyboards. I'm sorry, the Korg T2 is a belt drive. This is a belt drive too. Any SY Yamaha is belt drive. So you might want to look this up. Now I found out they do make floppy disk emulators for this, but you have to have a connection from the belt drive to actually connect up to that one little part right over here, which I could show you. This one little part right here. So once you have that, you can actually emulate the floppies just like on this VA76. So I'm just going to show you again that I can go back over to 00. So go to 9 and then press it real hard, hold it, let it go, and it loads up perfectly. And what if I wanted to load a song again? So let's try Rock Around the Clock. Load, play. And there you go, ladies and gentlemen. I'm happy for what I got, and my next keyboard that I'm going to actually replace is the PSR 8000, the Korg PA60, the Casio MZ2000, the Roland E600, and I think that's what I'm going to replace right now. Thank you very much. Have a nice day.